Welcome to the Brain Hickey podcast, resources to help you give your audience a brain hickey. I'm your host, Adam Bensman. Now you're probably wondering, what is a brain hickey? And if you're near a computer, you can hop on to brainhickey.com. If not, I'll read it to you. Brain hickey, a long-lasting mark left on the brain by a powerful brand message. Now, why are we talking about these powerful brand messages that leave a long-lasting mark? Now, I started to get obsessed with communication, and I worked in the in-home sales organization, everything from doing in-home sales to the COO of a multi-million-dollar, multi-state in-home sales company. And I have witnessed pitches in place. I've been the recipient of pitches from marketers and salespeople. I've witnessed large companies grow and small companies fail, and I wanted to find out what was that common thread. And that common thread is the ability to clearly communicate what you do with the people that you're meant to serve. And that brain hickey, a long-lasting mark left by a powerful brand message, is something that is harnessed by large corporations with multi-million-dollar ad budgets, people like McDonald's and L'Oreal and MasterCard. And they have these very memorable marketing campaigns. With McDonald's with I'm loving it, and L'Oreal with because you're worth it, MasterCard. For everything else, there's MasterCard. And all of these marketing campaigns are memorable. How can we take these messages of these multi-million and billion-dollar companies and the history and the psychological hardwiring of humans and take this power to give your audience a brain hickey, that long-lasting mark left on the brain by a powerful brand message? And I realized that it was simple. We can break down these concepts into formulas, and by following them, we can build copywriting scripts for video and blogs and advertising and all of our communication mediums for companies of any size, small, medium, or large. So your company becomes memorable. So your message resonates with the audience. So you're connecting with the right audience. And most importantly, to help increase conversion, retention, brand loyalty, and referrals. So how did this name start, this name Brain Hickey? My background, again, has been starting in psychology to natural medicine, working with terminally ill and sexual abuse patients, all the way through sales, in-home sales, to consulting, business management consulting, and copywriting. And copywriting is really where my passion is, on connecting people using simple communication mediums and understanding, hey, there's a gap here. Why does this person not understand what I'm trying to say? And we've all felt it. And I'll give you a quick background. I sat in a product demo, online services for an advertising company for a client of mine. In 3 minutes in the demo, I said, whoa, I thought you guys managed ad campaigns across all digital mediums, banner ads and all that. And they said, no, all we do is we sell banner ads in email marketing. I said, well, your website gives me the impression that you do a lot more than that. And in fact, I didn't even know that you did that. And his response was, we get that all the time. And I said to myself, how does this happen? How does this disconnect happen? Now, these guys have a great product and services, right? They deliver the right message and take on certain advertising in direct email marketing that are delivered to the right audience that may be interested. But the way that they describe what they do fell short of, 1, accuracy, 2, resonating, and 3, the right way to explain it. So by rebranding my copywriting services, my wife and I were sitting up at the kitchen table. We say, you know what? We need a new name. We need a new face, and we're going to rebrand here. And the name has to do 3 things. 1, it has to be memorable. 2, it has to elicit emotional response. And 3, it needs to tell a story. Tell a story, emotional response, be memorable. So we're sitting up on the kitchen island on a Saturday night. We're drinking some wine, and we're using the thesaurus online just for fun, coming up with ideas. Somehow this word boil comes up, like on your skin, a boil. And I'm like, you know what? Just for grins, I'm going to type this into the thesaurus, see what pops up. And the 3rd word there was hickey. And I thought to myself, holy smokes, this is it. A hickey is a mark that you imprint on another person that stays there. And the most powerful place to do that would be on their brain, on their memory. Brain hickey. And the light bulb went off. I literally sat there, closed my laptop, started laughing, and I turned to my wife and I said, brain hickey. And she lost. She goes, that's it. And the name was born. So when I tell people this name, what's the name of your company? I say, Brain Hickey. They laugh and they give me this inquisitive look. Like, did he say hickey? Like you'd suck on someone's neck like a hickey? And then I explain my slogan of my company. Give your audience a brain hickey. Copywriting and video scripts that leave a mark. And then it clicks. So it's just enough information that elicits an emotional response, some intrigue and some humor. But it also leaves them with some questions that they want to learn more about, which what we want to do in copywriting is intrigue to get them to learn more. And then they tell me, they laugh and they say, you know what? I'll never forget that. How could you forget a name like Brain Hickey? And that is precisely what we're going to talk about in this podcast and what the foundation of my company does. We want to leave messaging that is memorable, that is emotional, that is telling a story and it's long lasting. Again, a long lasting mark left on the brain by a powerful brand message. And everything in this podcast is going to help you do that. And we work with marketers, so we can be outsourced and work with marketers, or we work directly with medium-sized entrepreneurs. And everything you're going to learn here is going to be actionable, executable, and inspiring resources to allow you to do this on your own. So today we've defined a brain hickey, and we're going to talk about the 5 fundamentals behind leaving a brain hickey on your audience. But first, let's talk about some simple human psychology. People remember stories more than they do facts. It's like studying flashcards when you were a kid, right? You'd have to sit there and try to anchor that memory to something familiar. But it was really hard to memorize facts. But if I asked you, what was your favorite memory as a kid? Think about it. How does it come up in your mind's eye? Now, for most people, this is replayed in your brain almost like a story. For some people, it's almost like watching a film. I see myself personally kind of in the third person, and I replay this time where my 3 friends, 4 friends, AJ, Kevin, and Darren. I guess that's 3, isn't it? Yeah, 4 if you count me. We were out in our neighborhood, probably about 8 or 10 years old, and we wandered down by this creek. And down by this creek, we found all these empty beer bottles from these high school kids. And we started to pick them up and throw them on this wall to break them. And as we were doing that, one of us stepped on a wasp's nest underground. And I'll never forget sprinting literally about a quarter mile back to Darren's house as this whole swarm of wasps stung us. We each got stung well over 20 times. And I replay this in my head as a story. And I got a couple takeaways from it. 1, watch your step when you're in the woods by the creek. And number 2, don't break glass bottles in a creek. So when we think of our memories, we recall them very vividly. But if I said to you, remember the phone number of your 3rd grade best friend, most of us don't because there's no emotion tied to it. Now, the Chinese leveraged this whole idea in their proverbs, and that's how they gave their messages and taught their messages in their culture. Now, everybody knows this one. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. And we've all heard this, and some of us may not remember it word for word, but we know the concept is there. Give a man to fish, you feed him for a day. And if you teach him, he's going to feed himself forever, right? That's the takeaway. The takeaway, when you really, really boil it down, is to teach someone to do something provides a long-lasting, empowering impact rather than just doing it for them. But if we just said to teach someone to do something themselves is more important than doing it for them, no one cares. It doesn't resonate. And as time progressed, we've built this into our folklore, into our childhood stories like Pinocchio. Now, we all remember watching Pinocchio and watching his nose grow as he's telling these lies and this shame that he feels that the whole world sees and witnesses him lying. And this social shaming that's going on, right? Makes the reader feel bad about lying as you read or hear about this folklore of Pinocchio. And we need to harness this concept of storytelling to leave a brain hickey because we need to have these powerful brand stories. And that's what we're going to talk about in our next podcast is about developing your brand story. And it's a simple 3-step formula. Again, we're going to get to that next week. Help you connect deeply with your target market and to help you increase conversion, retention, and loyalty. So let's talk about the 5 fundamentals of giving your audience a brain hickey. Number 1, brand messaging must be simple and singular. Your brand can't have multiple messages. Now, I made this mistake with a company I co-founded with a friend of mine. And our software that we developed was basically an automated email marketing program that ran a customer through an entire sales cycle, giving them updates, asking for referrals and reviews at strategic points. It was a great idea, but we had a really hard time getting traction because of how confusing our value proposition was, right? We tried to hit on the referrals and the reviews and the communication and the customer experience and all this stuff, but we really needed to boil it down into a simple core concept. And if you look at the Dollar Shave Club, right, the company that sells razors for really cheap online on a subscription service for both men and women, you jump on their website and their homepage does an excellent job of displaying their simple and singular brand message. Their slogan, a great shave delivered. Pretty simple, right? So they do a fantastic job at a simple, singular message without getting wrapped up into selling different types or styles of razors or selling different blades for men or women or their subscription model. It's very simple and it's very singular. And don't worry, as we examine these taglines or slogans or value propositions, we need to understand that these 5 fundamentals of giving your audience a brain hickey are going to apply to every copy medium that you produce, from blogs to videos to email marketing, landing pages, everything. All right, let's move on to number 2. Brand messaging must resonate with your audience. Now, you might be screaming to me, this is obvious, right? Of course it needs to resonate with the audience. But the difficult thing is it's often overlooked or we get in our own heads. And it's happened to me. It's much easier to provide outside feedback for someone than it is to look at your own company or your own brand. And my messaging on that last software I told you about, it didn't resonate with my audience. It was over-intellectualized, and my audience wasn't overly intellectual. Now, it sounds pretty basic, but we really need to focus on doing it right. All right. So who does a great job at this? Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Now, again, we're going to look at their slogan here. Live to ride, ride to live. So their brand resonates with a very specific type of motorcycle fanatic. Now, you notice I didn't say enthusiast because fanatic is even one step higher than an enthusiast. And that's what Harley-Davidson's brand is. Even their apparel stores sell merchandise that appeals to their brand. They're selling their brand story. All right, let's look at number 3. Brand messaging must be rooted in stories. Now, we look back to all these Chinese proverbs, right? And people remember stories and not facts, just like the Chinese proverbs, just like the folklore that I mentioned before. And there's no better example than the ad campaign by MasterCard. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. And if you think back to their TV commercials, they don't talk about credit cards or interest rates or ease of use or anything. All they did was show people in funny or emotional circumstances, and then MasterCard saved the day. And it's brilliant, and it's memorable, and it's powerful, and they told a story. All right, let's look at number 4. Brand messaging must be emotionally charged. So emotional investment is what influences an individual to make a buying decision. And emotions drive decisions much more powerfully than our intellect or our analytical capabilities. And we all know this. People buy to seek pleasure or to avoid pain. So when we build an emotionally charged brand story, it moves people and they connect with it. And as silly as it sounds, McDonald's has executed this in an epic way. Their campaign on their slogan, "I'm loving it," has exploded from TV to radio to billboards, you name it. And they don't talk about logic. They don't describe their food or price or convenience or speed or anything. They wrote an emotionally charged brand story that's focused on the love of a person eating their food. And they show people, with this look of just pure pleasure on their face while they're sitting in the booth at McDonald's biting in to the Big Mac. So this emotionally charged story of "I'm loving it" is powerful, especially when paired with their catchy jingle and when endorsed by celebrities like Michael Jordan. All right, let's look at number 5. Brand messaging must be personal. Now, this is often overlooked, not just by copywriters, but by marketers and entrepreneurs alike. When we don't personalize our message, it gets diluted. For example, if we pretend we're a realtor, right? Helping people find the perfect home. No one cares about people. What about this? Helping you find the perfect home. It's personal. I resonate with it. I feel this personal dialogue almost like you're sitting with me at my house on my couch having a discussion, right? It builds this different level of casual trust. And Copywriting 101 says to use the word you, but we've all seen it overused, especially in something like a really cheesy personal injury attorney website. Getting you the compensation you deserve, right? We don't want to do that. We want to sound authentic and really just build a personable bond with our audience. And L'Oreal, the makeup company, cosmetics company, has done an exceptionally brilliant job with this. And their slogan is because you're worth it. So if we think about this, not only are they using the word you, they're building a bond by giving you a compliment, saying you're worth it. They're simultaneously overcoming virtually every objection, including price, by saying because you're worth it. And they build this brand all about you and making you feel good, making you feel confident in your skin because you are worth it. And they do a fantastic job at it. So when your prospects and customers identify with you, when they like you, when they trust you, when they feel bonded to you, you start to really leave that brain hickey, that long-lasting mark left on the brain by a powerful brand message. You attract and convert more customers. So let's give this a quick recap. Here are the 5 fundamentals of giving your audience a brain hickey. A long-lasting mark left on the brain by a powerful brand message. Number 1, brand messaging must be simple and singular. Number 2, brand messaging must resonate with your audience. Number 3, brand messaging must be story-driven. Number 4, brand messaging must be emotionally charged. Number 5, brand messaging must be personal. So building these 5 fundamentals into every brand's communication, from web copy to email campaigns, advertisement, Facebook, video scripts, blogs, will empower you to give your audience a brain hickey, to be memorable, to increase conversion, to get more repeat business, and to generate more referrals. So next week on the Brain Hickey podcast, I'll be talking about building a brand story. The common thread that runs through all these copy mediums kind of sets that tone that stems through everything you broadcast to the world, all of those communication mediums, and how you can start to build that consistency in your messaging so that everybody that interacts with your brand gets the same singular takeaway. And by doing that, we leave a very powerful brain hickey on your audience. So now that we're on the same page, we're using the same language to define our core objective, which is to give your audience a brain hickey. This podcast channel is going to provide you with actionable and inspiring resources to help you give your audience a brain hickey. So thank you for listening. Access all your supplementary podcast goodies at brainhickey.com. Don't forget to check out our blog there. Click subscribe for new episode alerts every Tuesday. And this is Adam Bensman signing off the Brain Hickey podcast.